So we are much smaller. It's only like 4% of the total wine production in Germany comes from the Nahe area. So we are just located south of the Mosel, north of Rheinhessen, and west of the Rheingau. So a little bit in that triangle, basically. And you can also split up the Nahe in 3 different parts. So the lower Nahe, basically from the Rhine, maybe to Bad Kreuznach, is more similar to Rheinhessen. It's more flatlands, not so cool nights, a little bit warmer during the day. Then the middle Nahe, where we are located from Bad Kreuznach maybe until Schloss Böckelheim, is for me also the interesting part because there's the biggest diversity of different soil types and vineyard sites. And then the upper part of Nahe from Schloss Böckelheim, river upwards towards like Monsinghen. It's a little bit cooler again, but also great sites. And then why it's not so well known, maybe because a lot of Nahe wines were sold under the name of Rhine wine because we didn't have the name and it was much easier to sell under the name of Rhine because it was more known because of Rheingau and stuff like this. So that was a little bit a thing maybe until the beginning of the 70s. And then people started more and more and more and used the name Nahe on the label. Before that, it was not necessary. There was always a Nahe wine growing region, but people didn't use the name basically to market it. And so that was also a reason why, for example, we and other estates, we tried to push that name a little bit to make it more important because it is important. It is our region.
What's the general sort of history of vineyard ownership? Does that feed into the fact that the idea of estates in Nahe is a little bit younger in some ways, less recognized?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's tricky, you know. We had in the Nahe a couple of really, really good estates around 100 years, 120 years ago. Let's say in Bad Kreuznach, Anhäuser, von Plettenberg. Those were like famous estates that really had a vision and really were producing also during those years already terroir-driven wines where their focus was always on single vineyard sites. But you know, over generations, sometimes a generation gets the helm of a winery and maybe is not as talented at something like this. So it happens that wine quality is not as good anymore and people come and go. Yep. The sites stay. The great terroir will be always great terroir. Yeah, so it always depends also a little bit of the people who farm that land. So those big estates, you have to think about 100 years ago, they were sometimes 100 hectares. That is huge even for today's standards. But they really laid the first stone, I don't know.
The foundations.
The foundations kind of, yeah. And this is where other winemakers in the Nahe region still participate from. But as I said, so sometimes generations come and then maybe they're not as talented and then they have trouble selling wine, whatever, and then opportunities for other people occur where they can buy great terroirs. And that is also what happened to our estate and to others as well. So let's say you have in the upper Nahe, you have like Schönleber in the middle Nahe, maybe us, and then when you go towards the Rhine River, maybe Deal and those estates, we are not that old. I mean, our families make wine since hundreds of years, but we are not that old on the radar of the people because maybe the last generation had this opportunity to buy great vineyard land. And from there on, it more or less started. But on the foundation of those other estates who were there before.